Good. Alrighty, hi everyone. And so here is one of our presentations that I felt that was very much needed for our community, especially after the Hurricane Beryl, managing and figuring out like what happens in times where there is a natural disaster or there's a crisis, and how do we support our mental health during those times. So for today, um, this is our roadmap. We're going to go ahead and do an introduction on Be Nurtured. Who are we? What do we do? And then we're going to go into the meat of the content, which is understanding mental health in crisis situations, providing psychoeducation on coping strategies, practical tips for maintaining mental well-being during these difficult times, and then just open Q&A, and then closing off today's session. I hope that this is informational for you all. And then if you don't know me, my name is Denise Morales. I am a student in clinical mental health counseling, finishing up here pretty soon, just passed my CPCE and the NCE, which is ready for licensures to be a licensed professional associate. So hope to start seeing patients soon. But I am excited to bring this content to you. I went ahead and did some research and looked at peer-reviewed articles and try to gather some information to really provide you factual things here. And so what is Be Nurtured? Be Nurtured holds the values of transparency, growth, and perseverance. The overall mission of Be Nurtured is fruitfulness as a result of self-growth and personal investment. This mission can inspire change within oneself and in their communities. We are dedicated to enhancing the accessibility of mental health resources in underserved areas, empowering individuals to initiate positive change within themselves and around them. And so some things that we will have is ongoing workshops such as this one today, discussion panels, self-help group, holistic therapeutic opportunities. We do have our podcast as well. So find a way to plug in with us. At the end of the presentation, I do have a QR code where you can follow us. So what is a crisis? And if you have the opportunity, I want you to write down in the chat, what are some crisis situations based on what do you see here? And then can y'all hear me? Sorry. I want to make sure y'all can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no, the volume's great.
yeah, but you don't sound as clear. We can hear you, but you don't sound as clear as you normally do.
Okay. Let me see. I'll probably take off my headphones. A second. All right. How about now? Can y'all hear me?
Oh, that's much better.
Okay. Yes, I think it's time for a new headset. All right. So we'll persevere. Keep going through. So what is a crisis? So if you have the opportunity, please go ahead and write in the chat what is a crisis situation that you may think of or what you think is familiar. But according to some of the search that I did, a crisis situation is an event or series of events that disrupt normal functioning, posing significant challenges and threats to individuals, groups, and communities. These situations often exceeded individuals' or communities' coping mechanism, causing psychological, emotional, physical, or social harm. Crisis situations can arise from natural disasters, accidents, personal losses, health emergencies, or social and economic disruptions. So a couple key things that are in this definition, such as normal disruptions to normal functioning. So maybe you're going through life and you know that you have your routine. You wake up, you get up, and you go to work, and you know this is what you do, 9 to 5, and you have your set things that are your normal functioning. When that is disrupted by something that you were not expecting, severity, situation, or for it to derail you, that can be considered a crisis situation. And then here it also states exceeding individuals or communities' coping mechanisms. So this is something beyond your capacity that maybe you're not used to dealing with. And so you just don't even know how to handle this situation. That can be considered something larger than your coping mechanism and the communities. All righty. And then let's see. Yes, your norm is disrupted. So I'm reading off the chat. This is good. Alrighty, so how does this affect our mental health? So psychological, emotional, cognitive,
developmental and social influences on behavior and mental health, and the impact of these factors on preparedness, responses, and recovery from disasters and traumatic events. So these are kind of some of all the areas that are hindered due to crisis situations. And according to some of the articles that I read, the individuals and communities experience a mental health instability, which causes precipitate post-traumatic stress disorder. So PTSD, anxiety, depression in the population. So whenever we are going through situations that completely derail us, we can see some of the things like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And these are some of the symptoms that I provide mechanisms and some techniques and tools to kind of help you out and how to overcome some of the mental health distress due to crisis situations. And so here's another excerpt. So in one of these articles, it was doing an interview of people who had gone through significant loss due to Hurricane Hugo. And so the loss of resources, loss of daily routine, lack of control over one's own possessions, and loss of social support was associated with elevated levels of acute psychological distress following Hurricane Hugo. So we know that Houston is very much prone in hurricane season to things never really going our way. I myself was out of power for a good week and took financial hits and just distress, couldn't work, and it just completely derails us. And so that acute stress level does go up due to crisis situations such as that one. Psychological reactions can persist long after physical danger has passed due to ongoing stressors like loss of resources and displacement. So, yes, the lights might come back on, but then it still leaves us in a place where we have to pick ourselves up. What got damaged? Did a tree fall on the house? Did it fall on the car? Did somebody get really sick and maybe they couldn't receive help or support? Maybe a death happened in the midst of a crisis. There's so many after facts and that happen after these situations that affect our community. Alrighty. So recognizing our mental health symptoms. And so these are some of the symptoms that were outlined in the passages that I read. And so I kind of wanted to go over what are the symptoms that we see whenever we talk about anxiety, depression, or PTSD. So anxiety, excessive worry is part of that anxiety nuance. So you're thinking about, well, what am I going to do now when things can't get fixed? And what if I don't have enough water? What if I like over excessive worry and think to the point where you can't relax? Or you can't do normal function like showering or going back into work, or you're constantly in a state of worry about something that has either happened, not happened. Restlessness, so unable to relax. Physical symptoms, this can be your short breath, shaking, maybe you start hyperventilating, night terrors, your legs start getting shaky, you feel like you're tapping your foot more, you just kind of feel not as calmer than usual, just very impatient or a little more antsy. Sleep disturbances is a big one. So maybe you feel like whenever you go down to bed, um, you have a lot of passive thoughts and you can't get yourself to relax to a point where you can go to sleep. And then you're waking up and maybe you're waking up also anxious, or you feel that you're jump starting in your sleep. Those are some of the symptoms of anxiety. Also, if this does not replace any clinical mental health providers that with information. So if you find yourself relating to some of these symptoms and you would like to seek further assistance, feel free. I'm more than willing to pass some resources and referrals to you. But let's move forward. So depression. These are some of the symptoms that are mostly seen with depression. So persistent sadness, just always in a funk. You can't find yourself to accept or receive love or care. You kind of feel numbed, loss of interest. Maybe you don't want to hang out with your friends anymore, or maybe there was a hobby that you used to like that you're no longer interested in. Everything's just kind of like, I don't care to do it. Change in appetite. This can either be eating more or eating less. Fatigue, feeling drowsy. It provides cloudiness in your mind as well. That's part of that. Feeling of worthlessness or guilt, asking yourself like, well, why should I even be here? Things of that sort. cognitive impairment, some of that mental fog that I was talking about. Again, sleep issues, you might find yourself sleeping a lot more than normal. And then physical symptoms where maybe you feel body aches, and you just kind of feel like in pain in her or stomach. And you might feel that for anxiety too. And anxiety and depression are usually called comorbid symptoms, where if usually you find anxiety, you'll sometimes end up seeing depression with it as well. PTSD, intrusive thoughts, thoughts that sometimes might feel very irrational whenever you're in a calmer state, but in PTSD, maybe you're having flashbacks, maybe you're scared to go into certain situations because you feel like it re-traumatizes you. And so then you avoid, which is avoidance. Maybe you avoid conversations, people, places, negative changes in thinking and mood. So maybe you find yourself being a lot more aggressive to things than normal. Changes in physical and emotional reactions. So perhaps you can't be in certain social situations anymore and you feel overly stimulated. And so that's maybe something out of the normal that you're not used to. So what are some things that we can help in relieving some of these mental health symptoms? So I tried to bring in some kind of toolkits. This is where you want to put things in your mental health toolkit, of things you can do if, let's say, you're not in a space where you're like spending money or like you need to go to see somebody, but things that you can do in-house. We're thinking about crisis situations, and usually during crisis situations, we're depleted of resources. So I wanted to make some of these suggestions, things that you can do within your immediate reach or need. And so for anxiety, exercise is really important. And if you're able to or not, the recommendation is at least 3 times out of the week for at least 30 minutes. Get your body active, get your body running, get yourself able to release that pent up energy that you have to relieve some of that anxiety. Progressive muscle relaxation. This is also kind of called like the stagnant release of energy. And so maybe somewhere in your body, you feel that like, oh, my back is tense or my muscles feel very tight. And so start working on those muscles, start doing deep breathing exercises where you think about relieving those muscles, like work towards them to kind of get your body in a more relaxed state. Because with anxiety, it's like your body is inflamed. And so then you feel the tightness within yourself. Some grounding techniques. You can Google grounding techniques. There's different ones, such as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can like touch. So I might have those a little bit confused, but like 2 things you can smell and 1 thing you can taste. And so these are things that whenever you're having an anxiety attack, they help you get grounded back to a normal state where you're not hyperventilating, you're not feeling severe mental health symptoms, that can help you regulate yourself back again. And looking at the group chat, yes, Ashley, the method to come back to self and grounding before making decisions during crisis situations. Yes. And then limiting stimuli. So during anxious moments, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, especially during crisis situations. We saw fights occur, businesses get broken into, even waiting for gas. People had to wait for more than an hour or 2 to get gas, and some people were skipping line. That can very much make people anxious to even go out and get the resources they need, or feel frustrated that they're not getting what they need. And so be mindful of your current state of mind before you go out and participate in these activities. And, try to regulate yourself if you find yourself getting worked up. Chewing gum can help as well. It gives your mind something to do other than to like fixate on your feelings and emotions. And also sour candy is an easy way to kind of relieve you from that anxiety attack as well. We had some suggestions here of I do puzzles and coloring. Yes, artistic ways are also really, really good to kind of get some of that energy out and get you focused. Because what anxiety does, it also robs you of your focus to be present in the now. So don't let it rob you of your present. Depression, establish your routine. So maybe, you have been sleeping in late, or you find yourself just out of routine. Write a to-do list, write down the times, and you ideally, what do you want to do in the top hour of the day? Maybe you just get up and do a stretch and do a little bit of mindfulness, do a little bit of journaling, and maybe we're out of work for a while. So what can I do? Like take a walk around the neighborhood. Maybe it's clean up the grass a little bit. Find things to do to establish a routine, even if it's temporary. Social connections are very important during this time. Check up on your friends, check up on your family, check in with yourself. Try to find the resources that are around you and in the community, and find a little bit of joy in that and optimism that you yourself are able to assist as well. Hobbies and interest, some of that puzzling, some of the, at least for me, it's sewing. So people like fishing. Maybe there's something you're interested in. Try to find hobbies and your interests that can help you through these states where your mental health might have been impacted. And self compassion. So remind yourself you're worthy, you're loved, you're worthy of being loved, and that you also have a lot of purpose, especially with depression. Whenever that hits, it makes you feel like you are worthless. So try to find meaning and purpose in life, whether that's a higher calling, whether that is something to do with your future. Be forward thinking and be creative about the possibilities of your life. Post-traumatic stress disorder, mindfulness meditation. The one that I actually like to recommend a lot is a Little John. So Little John has a mindfulness album that is actually really, really good. It's also just you sitting there. Mindfulness can look different for many people depending on how you choose to do it. It can also be spiritual, so a reading and prayer. That can also be mindfulness meditation, checking in with your body, breathing, your muscles, going head to toe and doing a body scan. But if you feel like you need help and you never really know where to get started, the Little John Mindfulness Meditation album is really, really good. There's one called Body Scan that I would recommend to kind of help you get started. Journaling. Journaling, you can look up prompts online. If not, pretty much start with today, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I experienced. I saw myself reacting this way. It's just a way for you to dump your emotions openly. And then we go into creative expression. As mentioned earlier in the chat, some of that puzzles, some of that drawing and that painting is very therapeutic. And it's helpful for people that have experienced PTSD. And along with breathing exercises, I usually do the breathe in 4, hold in 2, and release in 6 seconds, and then do that 3 times. So deep breathing exercises can also help regulate you as well. Does anybody who is in our conversation today would like to share what are some of their mental health tips that they would like to share? We have the counter negative self-talk, positive self-talk, breathing, make a list of things you need to do and who can help. Thank you. These are from the comments.
Yeah, because I literally, like most of the time, I know people, what I've dealt with and what people tell me they're doing most of the time, and it might be something that's out of their like scope of range of dealing with, like law when I help people with legal stuff, and a lot of times it's just negative self-talk, just repeating, reverberating in their head. And I was like, you got to counter that with positive self-talk. You got to counter that with, positive thought.
Yes.
Because when you do that and you dwell, then you get wound up, and that's what's overwhelming more than the issue itself. The issue might be large enough, and it doesn't need any help. I just countering the negative. I don't have any time. I have time. I just have to make use of time, right? So you have to counter it. Each positive. I don't have, so I have. And I always say, like, make lists. And not only just this is what you can do, people can help, all people that might have some kind of wherewithal, friends or family. List of what you need and a list of help with them. people that can help, so that you can kind of calm down and not think, to yourself that you're alone and shut out and all this. Those two things that have been brief, like give yourself a moment. Men have a hard time with just stop, just completely stop. Whatever it is, whatever's going on, just stop, take a breath. Huge, to get our bearings back. And not let our emotions and all the, and endorphins and all the body chemistry that's going, awkward all over the place. Because our nerves might be in jitters, right? So we need to sit down. We need to breathe. We need to calm down. We need to take. So that's what I'm doing.
Yes, and thank you for those. Thank you. Anybody else wanted to share?
Usually when I feel anxiety or feel like I'm getting depressed, I withdraw and find a quiet place in my home. I sit back and I begin to say my favorite scripture, or just meditate and ask God to help me. And I take deep breaths. And after I take deep breaths, I find myself going to sleep and I wake up rejuvenated.
Yes, and sometimes we do need that sleep to kind of get a reset. And
Yeah.
the lack of sleep keeps us from organizing our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. We need a deep sleep state for us to get back to a little bit better mental wellness. So thank you for sharing that as well. For me, it's actually going on a walk. Whenever I used to live in Austin, I used to come home from a stressful day of school, put my dog on a leash, and just go walk outside and end up in a random trail. But now I find it to be like running or around water. Try to do something out of the normal that maybe I haven't done in a while, something that brings me joy. And it's usually reading or talking to a friend, kind of getting out of my system really helps me in those times. But moving forward on crisis situations, we talk about how to kind of help some of our mental health symptoms that we might be experiencing. But along with managing our mental health symptoms, resilience is a big part of being able to deal with stressful situations that deter us from our normal routine. So, what is resilience? Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, or stress. It involves a combination of mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adaptation to both internal and external demands. Resilient individuals can bounce back from setbacks, maintain a positive outlook, and continue to move forward despite challenges. And that's the interesting part. Like, challenges are going to come, challenges are going to happen. It's not a matter of, I hope it never happens. Is when it does happen, what am I going to do? How am I going to act? How am I going to feel? That's that mental and emotional. How am I going to feel about this? How am I going to behave about this? What is my well-being around my resiliency? And resiliency is something you can work in counseling settings as well, building your resilience, building your assertiveness, and helping you in that state. So that's something you can look forward to. And some of the papers that I read, this is what they had to say about resilience. Resilience promotes physical, social, and emotional well-being and acts as an important protective factor. So then it's kind of like an extra shield for you, because your resilience maybe used to be like a 2, maybe I upgraded to a 5. Like, my armor is a lot greater this time around. The more resilient you are, the better you're able to tolerate the feelings of stress, anxiety, and sadness that accompany trauma and adversity, and find a way to rebound from setbacks. And this isn't to say, no, you cannot be sad. No, you cannot feel anxious. No, you cannot feel sad. You might want to experience those things and you might cry. I certainly did cry at one point or another, but then it's being able to pick myself up and say, all right, let's suck it up. Let's move forward with today. Like, what needs to happen today? Is it cleaning up the area? Is it just finding food for the day? Is it finding gas for the day? Like, what are the things that still need to get done for me to, at the end of the day, feel accomplished or get myself situated or make sure the family's good and taken care of? So these are part of resilience. Would anybody like to share about resilience and their personal thoughts about this? All righty. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward. And so here's some strategies to building resilience. And so I kind of broke them down a little bit. So the first one's reach out to others and stay motivated. Maintain and prioritize relationships, and even virtually. So maybe you can't see them in person, but go ahead and call, go ahead and check up and see like, hey, are you okay? Like, how are you dealing with things today? And it also allows you to do a share of your thoughts and feelings and emotions, that kind of help you get some of that out. Break down problems into manageable steps. So what is the issue at hand? Is it that the tree fell down? Okay, well, let's take a deep breath. I know this is difficult, but let's find our resources. Like, let's break this down. Who can we call? Who can we do? Who can we reach out? Especially during natural disaster, there's a lot of relief that's happening around us. So there's a lot of people also willing to help. Or do we have insurance? Do we need to call the insurance? Do we need to get pictures? So start making manageable steps that can also help you relieve your anxiety, because then you know what to do, what you need to do, versus irrationally going into thought process that can be unhealthy for your mind. Celebrate small wins to maintain motivation. And so maybe the win of the day is that we got a gallon of gas, or that we got some water, or that we got some cereal, or that we're all together under the roof. Like, these are the moments to start practicing gratitude. And that's kind of the next one. But your win is a win, and try to feel that win and try to share it with others too. Like, hey, like, it's okay, like, we got what we needed for today, like, we're here, we're all together. Maintain hopeful and outlook and express your gratitude. So that's very much what I try to do during Hurricane Barrel. The situation and the circumstances were not as ideal as I would have hoped to have, like, with just lights on in my house, like full fridge, nothing spoiled. um but that did not happen. And so for me, having that gratitude is very important. That I have my family with me, that I have my friends that I was checking up on, that my parents were taken care of, that my pets were okay, and just trying to manage some of that distress. Be kind to yourself and practice self-compassion. So, be patient. I know it's not ideal. I know that ideally we wouldn't be going through any of these situations, but they do happen. The next one is invest in self care, engage in regular exercise to elevate stress, such as we were talking before. Practice relaxation techniques like meditation. So that might be yoga for you, spiritual scriptures. That might be listening to Little John's meditation album. And then ensure adequate sleep and maintain a healthy diet. So stay hydrated. Make sure that you eat. Make sure that you are drinking enough water and that you're sleeping enough. Manage overall stress levels to improve your mood and resilience. So, once you maybe get out of overly stimulated situations, or try to mediate like what's going on around your surroundings, and that can also help with your self-care. Practice acceptance. Accept the reality of the situation to focus on things within your control. Um, Natural disasters are out of our control. There's nothing we can do to prevent them. But we can accept the reality that if it's coming, what is in my position that I can do? Is it that I need to get a surplus of supplies, for batteries, water, preserved foods, preservatives? What is it that I need to do so to make sure that I'm okay? Is it that I need to invest in generators? Is it that I need to start saving up my coins so I can have one at one point? Or is it that I need to start finding future locations that I can go to that are cool down centers in case this happens? So accepting reality is also part of that resilience, because you also can't be in denial about these situations, and try to repress what's happening, because it's in your face, it's affecting you, it's affecting people around you. Reflect on past experiences to help manage current adversity. Think about, what have I been through in the past that has made me strong, has made me this warrior, has built character in me? What are the things you've been through that maybe at one point you thought, I would never see the out of this, but you have made it to the other side, and now you see yourself being a lot more resilient. That can also prepare you for this. You know what they say, like, God chooses his toughest warriors. And so look for meaning and purpose. Help others to regain a sense of control and purpose. letting people know, hey, it's okay, we're gonna pick back up, we're gonna bounce back up. Like, be that source of motivation and positivity for yourself and for others. Pursue hobbies and interests that nourish your spirit. So it might be walking around and finding little flowers and making yourself a little bouquet, or some of that going and fishing, or some of the journaling, some of the drawing, some of the things that pour into our interest. What are some ways that you all have built resiliency? I would love to hear.
I always do what I can. So even if I can't deal with my stuff, I kind of shelf it. I make the calls, I make the list, I make the calls and stuff like that. But I don't just sit there and stew, in what's going on with me. I get out and help others. I often find a lot of helping others, for myself. And also, like, I get out of my own mental funk. I'm able to see that others are, dealing with and coping with not only things like me, but probably bigger than I'm dealing with. And that makes me more grateful than anything. Makes me thankful. And that whole experience kind of, gives me a sense of accomplishment, being able to help somebody else with a smaller problem or something else that I can help with. It gives me that community, helps me get out the house, all that. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think you had a great analogy of like getting out of our own funk. It's hard to see the needs of others and around us whenever we're stuck in our own head. And so sometimes getting out of our funk allows us to see a little bit more clarity into what's happening, and maybe even accepting that reality that's in front of us as well. Alrighty. And so, lastly, I wanted to provide some Houston resources. I know this is a lot, so take a screenshot, whatever it is that you need to do. But this is like the Houston Police Department, the HPD Mental Health Division, Bentop Psychiatric Unit, Psychiatric Center, Medical Centers, Harris County Precinct, Mobile Crisis Outreach Team, Homeless Unit, and then some other mental health resources in Crisis Line. This is the one that I wanted to highlight, the Harris County Center Helpline for Crisis Line, and then Crisis Intervention Houston, and then there's some other teen crisis hotlines that you can text and or call, as well as suicide hotline, some support for our vets, and then other services and phone numbers as well, in case our community needs that support. But does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns that they would like to speak about their experience with the hurricane and how they got through it?
Well, I want to just say that me not being from, born here, and so learning this this weather on this end, and how things happen, it definitely has changed the way that I go about and move now. But I also will say, like, I have learned here, like, when crisis like this has happened, you find out who your true community is as well. Um, I've been on my block for 4 years, and I met a new neighbor, and we see each other all the time, coming and going. And so it allowed for opportunity to, like we say, help each other out in a time of need. And also we learned to go get a backup generator, to at least cushion whatever else is going to come, however it's going to come. But, being prepared from just a different perspective than what I'm used to doing. And I've been grateful for y'all, the different resources, the different things. This is great when you can have a community, like be a part of Be Nurtured, and can have a thread sharing, different resources with each other. And like we talk about, reaching out to each other to see how you're doing. It was definitely a blessing.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And I agree with that too. You talk about like your neighbor and having to meet new people. Jokingly, we were walking around the community, my mom, and she's like, "There's so many kids outside. This should happen. Not that we should have a hurricane once a month, but like that the power should go out once a month so we can see everybody's face coming out of the house." And I was like, I agree. Like, there's so many kids in the neighborhood that I didn't even recognize were here, but we're all stuck on screens, or we never come out, or we don't know each other. And so it gave us the opportunity, forced opportunity, to really interact with our family members, our neighbors, and other individuals that maybe we don't naturally just give our dedicated attention to. But situations like this do let us know what our resources and what things we have going on. But yes, thank you so much for joining us and supporting us in this conversation about our mental well-being and our mental health during crisis-like situations. If you would like to see any other workshop on anything else, feel free to let us know. I'm excited to provide more opportunities for us to connect in the future. And thank you so much for joining the call today. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Love you guys. Be safe.
Good
Bye.
night.
Julia, do you need me to stay on?